Next, we have Kenneth Petrie, Jefferson County Courthouse use restrictions. Kenneth is with Conrad and Luttrell and has been a specialty attorney working with the county for a while. And Kenneth, with your insight and your know-how and your skills, you helped us get this building. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed it. How are you all today?
Thank you. Doing great.
The question that I was asked to research was the vesting of the property that is in the square, basically the old courthouse and the deed that conveyed that and the other corners, basically. So if you took George and Washington Street and make a cross, I guess, the four corners were all conveyed in one deed. That was done way back in 1801, August 1st of 1801. It was conveyed by Samuel and Dorothy Washington, and that was conveyed to a group of 17 people who were listed as the gentlemen at that point of Berkeley County, because in 1801, Jefferson County hadn't been formed yet. So this was a conveyance out of a land acquisition for the purpose of creating Jefferson County public buildings. That's why it was conveyed. So the four corners basically were described as running half a lot length on Washington Street and a full lot length on blank street that we now know which street that is. And those four lots were conveyed to these individuals in trust as in their capacity representing the new Jefferson County to be used. It says one lot to erect a public market house for the inhabitants of Charlestown and 3 lots for public buildings. So those were actually what we now know as the mailing addresses of 100 East Washington Street, 100 West Washington Street, 101 West Washington Street, and 101 East Washington Street. And those currently house the historic courthouse, the property that is the market house property is across George. That's where Bushel and Peck and Taco Shop and that's that building. Across Washington Street is the post office, and then respectively across George again is the city of Charlestown. So the question is, how did they become all of those uses and what they were? The courthouse was built, the original was built on the 100 East Washington Street site. The historic jail for the courthouse was built where the post office currently is. So that was county property also. And then across the street where the city was also county property originally. And a little bit unclear what the market house property was, what the vesting of that was, although it is believed that there was a market house built there. So what currently is assessed is the Jefferson County Courthouse. This Charlestown Building Commission is across George. Of course, the United States Post Office is across Washington, and then the Charlestown Building Commission is on the opposite corner across from the courthouse. Those changed hands by basically the courthouse has never changed hands. From this 1801 deed, it was the courthouse. Across the street, across Washington Street, the city of Charlestown building was not always either the counties or the cities. That was conveyed. There was a determination that there was a building there, that the building that was there was no longer of use to the county. So at that point in time, there was an adjudication by the County Court of Jefferson County that the building was no longer needed and that it would be auctioned. And so there were commissioners appointed that it would be auctioned and sold. And it was auctioned and sold. It was sold to individuals. Those individuals later conveyed to the bank, and the bank later conveyed the part that it belongs to the city to the city. That's how that became the city of Charlestown. Across George, where the post office is, as I said, that was originally, historically, the jail. There was some review and investigation and determination that that facility was not proper to house a jail. And at that point, and that there was sufficient room behind the existing courthouse to locate that. So that property was then determined to be of best interest as a post office, and it was conveyed, again, by virtue of court order determination that the jail was not a proper use and that the federal use as a post office would be better. Across Washington Street, where the Building Commission, City of Charlestown Building Commission owns that corner building. The last deed to that was to the Building Commission from the City of Charlestown, referring back to the original deed in 1801. My speculation for title to that is because it said one lot, and this is pure speculation, I can't find support for this, that one lot was supposed to be a market house for the inhabitants of Charlestown. That's why the city of Charlestown was vested, quote unquote, or refers back to that deed as their title to that property rather than the county. So overall, my analysis of this is that the Jefferson County Commission, successors to those 17 individuals, again, a little bit of speculation there. I can't find through any records how those 17 people became Jefferson County Commission, but everybody carries that forward. So we're going to presume that's how that happened. Is that the best determination of what should happen with any of the property owned by the county is through court order to determine if there is any, how they are vested and how they would transfer title to anyone else other than the county.
Okay, that was very complex. I appreciate it. If you could communicate that to us through a memorandum with visuals pointing out the properties that you just mentioned, I think that'd be very helpful. Let me ask what I think is a simple question, I hope. If it's not, correct me if I'm wrong, but the historic courthouse, does the county own that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if we wanted to turn that into a museum, do we have the property rights to do that, to contract with or engage with either National Park Service or another organization that does museums?
And retain title in the county's name? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's no definition that I can find in any of these documents that defines public buildings for that purpose. And that's the only designation at all anywhere in any of these documents for use of the property.
Okay.
Are there limitations to us leasing to a private entity?
Again, if there were, the other properties that were on this same deed have already faced that challenge in the way that was determined to move forward was by virtue of basically a declaratory judgment order from the court saying this is the question that you ask is this the highest and best use, basically? Is this the use that would be proper for this property? Have the public uses been, the ability to use the property, have they been adequately met? And would the one that's being proposed be a good option?
So you would recommend a court order for leasing and/or selling before we,
I'm not saying that you need, if you don't transfer title out of Jefferson County Commission's name, then I'm not saying that you necessarily have to have a court order to be able to continue to use the property in the name of the county.
okay, thank you.
Fair enough.
Thank you so much, Annette.
Thank
welcome.
you.